When we stop worrying, results come. Michel de Montaigne. Let go, life flows. Sometimes, the best things in life arrive only when we stop forcing them. Through the profound reflections of Michel de Montaigne, we explore why true strength, healing, and freedom don't come from controlling life, but from releasing our grip on it. In this video, we uncover how embracing uncertainty, letting go of rigid expectations, and daring to live authentically can quietly build unshakable inner power. If you've ever felt trapped by the pressure to succeed, or weighed down by invisible expectations, this journey will remind you. Peace is not found by fighting harder, it is found by trusting more deeply. Stay with us, and rediscover the art of moving through life with resilience, gentleness, and true freedom, one quiet step at a time. When the best outcomes arrive the moment we stop forcing them. There is a strange paradox in life that we rarely notice: the most beautiful outcomes, the most elevated moments, often come when we stop desperately trying to grasp them. When we let go, when our minds cease to tighten with anxiety and expectation. Life seems to naturally open up opportunities, delivering the very things we once longed for. Why is it so? Why do the things we most desire arrive at the moment we stop pursuing them with feverish intensity? Perhaps it is the obsession with control, the fear of failure, and the absolute craving that unwittingly push us further away from what we seek. When we strain ourselves too much, suffocated by worry over results, our inner world loses the space to breathe, to flow, to receive. Michel de Montaigne, one of the most profound thinkers of the 16th century, recognized this early on. He observed that the more we try to control everything, the more we lose the naturalness and fluidity inherent within us. It is only through conscious letting go, in a state of non-compulsive relaxation, that our true potential can manifest. This is not a call to resignation or passivity. On the contrary, it is an invitation to change the way we engage with life, to give our best, but without clinging to results, to dream, but without letting dreams shackle the soul, to act, but while keeping the heart free and the mind open. Inner healing does not begin with great victories but with the moment we dare to lay down the burden of needing to win all the time. Inner strength is not built by constantly battling every potential failure but by learning to walk steadily even when outcomes are uncertain. True self-mastery does not come from controlling every circumstance but from mastering how we respond, maintaining peace regardless of how life shifts. If we can learn to act wholeheartedly without desperately demanding a reward, if we can live with inner patience rather than hurried worry, then we not only achieve better outcomes, we also find true freedom, freedom from pressure, from fear, and from the inner barriers we unconsciously build within ourselves. A life between glory and loss, the true portrait of Montaigne. Michel de Montaigne was born into a noble French family in the 16th century, a time when glory and tragedy often intertwined inseparable. Why? From an early age, he received an outstanding education, mastering Latin as a child and being exposed to humanity's greatest ideas, a seemingly perfect beginning for a life of success and stability. But life does not follow naive patterns. At just 30 years old, Montaigne faced a series of painful losses. His closest friend, Étienne de la Boétie, died suddenly, leaving an unfillable void in his soul. Shortly thereafter, his father passed away, followed by the tragic death of his brother in a bizarre accident. Montaigne himself narrowly survived a serious horse-riding accident, and the sorrow deepened when his newborn daughter died shortly after birth. A relentless, merciless cascade of losses, enough to crush anyone. And it would have been understandable had Montaigne surrendered, fallen into despair, and locked himself permanently in bitterness. But instead of collapsing, he chose another path, a quiet but immensely courageous journey inward. Montaigne's endurance was not passive resignation. It was a profound acceptance of life's fragility. A recognition that loss and pain are not signs of personal failure but inevitable aspects of existence. It was through facing this imperfection that he began the process of inner healing. building a spiritual resilience capable of withstanding any storm. Through Montaigne's story, we see a truth that modern psychology continues to affirm: enduring pain does not make us weak. It forms the foundation for true inner strength. Loss does not have to destroy us, if we know how to transform it into a guiding light for our growth. When Montaigne let go of the world's race to return to himself. Faced with successive losses, Montaigne realized that nothing external could ever provide absolute security. The world, with all its glory, fame, and promises, was but a fragile mask, easily shattered under the weight of time and misfortune. Instead of continuing to chase the endless spiral of ambition and social expectation, he chose what few dare to. He let go. Montaigne left behind a promising political career and retreated to his country estate, where he created a haven of silence. Detached from the noise and strife of the outside world. Within his private library, surrounded by over 1,500 books, he began a quiet dialogue with himself. It was not an act of escape, but a return to the deepest questions of human life, the meaning of existence, and how one might face suffering without succumbing. In the modern world, where society glorifies speed, achievement, and busyness as measures of worth, Montaigne's decision stands as an act of radical courage. He refused to let his life be defined by the gaze of others or by external standards of success. Instead, he chose to define his life through honesty with his own emotions, and through the patient exploration of the self. Montaigne's withdrawal was also an act of profound healing. By refusing to strain himself to meet societal expectations, he allowed himself to breathe, to heal his wounds of loss, and to rebuild a stronger, more resilient inner world. This lesson remains deeply relevant today. Sometimes, to truly become strong, we do not need to charge forward with all our might, we need to step back, abandon the meaningless race, and listen to what our hearts truly need. Learning to walk among the uncontrollable. In the quiet of his book-filled room, Montaigne embarked on another journey, learning to live among uncontrollable forces. Learning to walk through an uncertain world without panic. He realized a simple yet profound truth: life never moves entirely according to human will or plans. No matter how hard we try, there will always be losses, upheavals, and unforeseeable turns. Instead of struggling hopelessly to control every variable, Montaigne chose to coexist with them. He understood that uncertainty is not an enemy but an inseparable part of life. And the more we compulsively seek certainty, the more we entangle ourselves in anxiety and disappointment. In a modern culture obsessed with controlling the future, Montaigne invites us to do the opposite. To consciously let go. Not abandoning all effort, but letting go of the illusion that effort guarantees success. Not living passively, but living with awareness, accepting that some things will forever be beyond our grasp. Inner healing cannot occur if we continue clinging to impossible expectations. In fact, the ability to face and accept uncertainty is the foundation of true mental resilience. For when we stop fighting against the unchangeable, we begin to discover true inner peace. Montaigne walked through life this way, not with the ambition to conquer everything, but with the courage to embrace it all. And perhaps, that is the greatest strength a human being can attain. Only when we stop trying to please the world do we touch true freedom. One of Montaigne's deepest discoveries during his years of retreat was recognizing the invisible burden of living under the eyes of others. As long as we are weighed down by the need to please others, every action, every decision, even every thought, becomes distorted by the fear of judgment, rejection, or evaluation. Montaigne saw that much of human insecurity does not stem from reality itself, but from the pressure to live according to others' templates, expectations, and standards. When we strive to be accepted, we gradually lose our authentic selves. We become distorted versions of ourselves, living in constant tension and nameless fear. Only when Montaigne accepted the relinquishment of the need for approval did he find a freedom he had never known before, a freedom not based on pleasing anyone else but on reconciliation with himself. F. This freedom needed no external validation to exist. It grew in the silence of a self-reliant heart, in the belief that true value cannot be determined by any gaze or any word. In a modern world flooded with invisible pressures from social media and the need to display success, Montaigne's lesson becomes ever more urgent. Inner freedom is not a state bestowed upon us, it is the result of daring to stop living for the eyes of others and standing firm in the fragile but unshaka truth within ourselves. Only when we stop trying to please everyone can we truly touch the free, whole, and vibrant being within us. The spirit of skepticism, the first step toward inner freedom. In his journey of self-discovery, Montaigne realized early on that people are often bound not just by societal expectations but also by the absolute beliefs they create for themselves. He saw that rigid certainty, unyielding affirmation about anything, was the root of extremism, conflict, and ultimately, suffering. Thus, instead of seeking an absolute truth to cling to, Montaigne chose another path. Skepticism. But skepticism here is not the bitter or destructive kind, it is a conscious skepticism, one that opens space for flexibility, tolerance, and understanding. He understood that wisdom does not lie in holding a fixed system of beliefs but in the ability to question. To accept that there are things we do not know, and perhaps will never know. And in embracing these limits, Montaigne found freedom. Freedom not because he possessed all the answers, but because he was no longer imprisoned by the illusion of needing to have them. Today, in a world flooded with information and countless proclaimed truths, Montaigne's spirit of skepticism feels like a saving breath. It reminds us that we do not need to know everything to live meaningfully. We do not need complete certainty to move forward. Merely having the courage to accept ambiguity and to exist amid unanswered questions is already a beginning of true freedom. In this way, skepticism does not weaken faith, it purifies it, making it clearer, humbler, and stronger. Why the more we seek certainty, the more anxious we become. Montaigne identified a bitter paradox early on: the more people seek absolute certainty in life, the more they trap themselves in cycles of anxiety. When we demand that everything goes according to plan, that every question must have an answer, that very demand generates tension. For this world is inherently ever-changing, containing countless unpredictable elements. The obsession with controlling outcomes strips our minds of adaptability, leaving us brittle in the face of life's surprises. Each time reality deviates from our expectations, each time the answers we seek fail to appear, we plunge into disappointment, panic, and fear. Montaigne pointed out that it is the compulsion to absolutize everything that truly wounds us. When we refuse to accept that some things cannot be known for certain, we trap ourselves in a constant defensive stance, and our hearts can never truly find rest. His lesson is clear: we do not need to know everything, nor control everything. Sometimes, the beginning of healing and building true resilience lies in accepting that uncertainty is a natural part of life. Only when we let go of the need for control can we open ourselves to embrace life as it is. Accepting our own limits, the gateway to true freedom. One of Montaigne's most important realizations was that acknowledging one's own limitations does not make us weaker, it opens a new dimension of inner freedom. He recognized that every human being, no matter how wise, carries mistakes and insurmountable limitations. Human beings are not omnipotent. We misjudge, misunderstand reality, and are swayed by emotions. This is not a personal failure, it is the natural essence of being human. Montaigne did not try to deny this, he welcomed it as an inevitable part of existence. In modern society, where the pressure to be perfect is painted everywhere, admitting our limits becomes a quiet act of rebellion. We do not need to prove that we know everything, that we are always right, or that we never fail. We simply need to dare to accept that we are beings in the process of learning and growing each day. Emotional healing also begins here. By ceasing to force ourselves to be perfect, ceasing to punish ourselves for unfinished goals, When we understand that not knowing everything does not mean we are useless. When we embrace our own clumsiness and imperfections, we finally find peace. And from that peace, true inner strength is gradually nurtured, like an underground river steadily carving its way. Freedom comes not from victory, but from letting go of the need to win. At the core of human nature lies a constant urge to win in arguments, in comparisons. In the endless silent competitions with others and ourselves. Montaigne saw through this compulsion, realizing that it is precisely the relentless craving for victory that binds us. When every action is judged through the lens of winning and losing, our minds can never truly rest. Each small failure becomes a wound. Each victory achieved drags with it the fear of loss and the anxiety of needing to defend our newly won reputation. Thus, we are drawn into an endless spiral. Montaigne chose a different path. He abandoned the need to win in every conversation, in every battle of life, not because he lacked will or strength, but because he understood that true worth is not about proving who is right or wrong, but about living in harmony with oneself. Inner freedom, according to Montaigne, does not come from glorious victories, but from the ability to let go of the need for victory. Only when we stop demanding to win can our souls truly breathe easily. Then, failures no longer have the power to wound us, and victories no longer become burdens. Healing begins here. When we stop turning every moment into a battlefield. Building inner strength is not about conquering everything, it is about walking steadily, knowing that victory and defeat are just passing winds. Intelligent letting go, the art of the strong. There is a widespread misunderstanding that letting go equates to failure, passivity, or surrender to fate. But Montaigne offers an entirely different view. Letting go, when done consciously and deliberately, is a sign of matured inner power. It is not resignation. It is an intentional act to free oneself from unnecessary battles. Montaigne believed that we should act with all our might within our capacity but must not allow the outcomes to dictate our emotions and sense of worth. We can set goals and dedicate ourselves fully. But we must not equate our personal value with the achievement or non-achievement of those goals. When we understand that success and failure do not define who we are, we can finally act freely. This is the art of intelligent letting go, continuing to act and strive, but with a mind liberated from the bondage of outcome obsession. Emotional healing also lies within this process. When we stop forcing ourselves to always win, stop punishing ourselves when things do not go as planned, we create a space of compassion and lightness. Freed from rigid expectations, we become more flexible and better able to flow with life's currents. Montaigne never denied the value of effort. He simply reminded us that true strength does not come from controlling every outcome, but from mastering ourselves amid the uncertainties. The strongest person is not the one who always wins, but the one who never loses their inner peace, whether in victory or defeat. When we stop chasing tomorrow, joy appears in the present. One of Montaigne's most profound discoveries was the danger of placing all our happiness in the future. Humans have a tendency to believe that once they achieve something, a higher position, greater wealth, or a perfect relationship, they will finally be happy. Yet in that endless chase, the present is sacrificed, and happiness remains ever out of reach. Montaigne realized that those who stake their happiness on future conditions trap themselves in an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. Even when a goal is achieved, the satisfaction is fleeting, soon replaced by new desires. According to him, true joy does not come from having everything we want but from the ability to savor what we already have. When we stop seeing life as a series of tasks to complete in order to be happy, we begin to recognize the simple, profound beauty of each present moment. Inner healing begins with accepting that no perfect future awaits us. Every day lived fully, every small joy treasured, silently lays the foundation for a happy life. Montaigne teaches us that chasing tomorrow is the surest way to lose today. But when we learn to stop, observe, and feel, No matter how the future unfolds, we already hold the most precious thing in our hands, real life, right now. Conquering oneself, the greatest victory. Throughout his years of contemplation, Montaigne reached a profound conclusion: the most important conquest is not the conquest of the external world, but of oneself. He realized that the more we try to control the world, the more powerless we become. The more we try to change others, the more disappointment we face. But when we turn inward, learning to adjust ourselves, we finally touch real power. Montaigne did not advocate complete withdrawal from life. Nor did he glorify isolation. What he emphasized was inner autonomy, the ability to maintain a steady heart even when the world around us is in chaos. We may not all be able to change the course of events, but we can all change how we walk through them. In modern society, where success is often measured by control and domination, Montaigne's lesson serves as a powerful reminder. Conquering others may bring fleeting pride, but conquering our own fears, greed, weaknesses, and impulsiveness, that is the greatest victory. Deep healing begins when we stop blaming the world for our imperfections. When we realize that the greatest power is not in forcing others to change, but in transforming and healing ourselves despite circumstances. Montaigne teaches that the truly strong are not those who never fall, but those who rise again after every fall, with a steadfast heart and a soul tempered by trials. We don't need to be right about everything, we just need to live true to our experience. Montaigne did not seek absolute truths, nor did he try to force life into a single mold. He understood that every person is a world of their own, every experience a lesson that cannot be repeated. Thus, demanding absolute correctness in thinking or living is nothing but a weary illusion. He chose a humbler path, sharing his observations, mistakes, and experiments without imposing them on anyone. For Montaigne, life was not a problem requiring a precise solution but a flowing stream to be fully experienced in all its imperfections. In today's world, where the pressure to be right, perfect, and successful weighs heavily on individuals, Montaigne's spirit feels like a refreshing breeze to the soul. We do not need to be right about everything, nor must we hold all the answers. We need only to live true to our experience, learning from both failure and success, and to not fear accepting that there are things we will never fully understand. Emotional healing also stems from allowing ourselves to make mistakes, to stumble without condemning ourselves. Building inner strength means daring to walk our own path, with all its uncertainties, with all its unanswered questions, while holding on to integrity and faith in our journey. Montaigne does not hand us a map for life. He offers us the courage to step into it, with sincerity and openness, no matter how many uncertain turns lie ahead. The final lesson, being gentle with life, free with oneself. Montaigne concluded his philosophical journey with a lesson that seems simple but contains immeasurable depth: to truly live, we must be gentle with life and generous with ourselves. There is no fixed formula for happiness, no single standard for success. Life, in his eyes, is a flowing river of constant change. The more we try to force it, the more we cling to rigid concepts, the more exhausted we become. Only when we release the need to control everything, when we stop pushing ourselves to meet some imagined ideal, does the soul finally find the space to breathe freely. Emotional healing begins with self-forgiveness, understanding that mistakes and failures are natural parts of the journey. True freedom does not come from controlling the external world but from the ability to accept, love, and accompany ourselves through all of life's ups and downs. Montaigne lived, and departed, with that lightness, a mark of freedom that no external force could ever take away. Healing pain, building inner strength, and rediscovering true freedom. If there is one ultimate lesson to be drawn from Montaigne's journey, it is this: only by daring to accept the fragility of life do we begin to truly heal and grow. Pain is not something to be avoided at all costs, it is the quiet flame that forges inner strength in those brave Inu. To walk through it. Montaigne taught that no one escapes loss, disappointment, or insecurity. But what makes a person truly free is not the absence of wounds, it is the ability to embrace the pain. Move through it, and emerge with a deeper, stronger heart. Modern society often confuses freedom with total control, happiness with constant dominance. But Montaigne shows us. True freedom only arises when we let go of the need to control, liberate ourselves from the pressure to always be right. Always be perfect. Building inner strength is a quiet process of standing firm amidst chaos, of trusting oneself even when everything around us changes. Thus, when we stop seeking perfection, we find ourselves again. Ultimately, Montaigne reminds us that living is not a race to conquer or perfect oneself according to some ideal. Living means daring to be present in every moment, with all its imperfections, its uncertainties, and its fragile hopes. It means daring to experience life not from a place of fear, but with openness and sincerity. We do not need to have all the answers to move forward. We do not need to be perfect to deserve happiness. Every step taken, every stumble, every time we rise again, is an essential part of the journey to reclaim inner freedom. And if there is one thing to remember, it is this. Peace does not come from clinging tightly to life but from learning to loosen our grip just enough to receive its most unexpected miracles. So, allow yourself to live, fully, authentically, and gently with yourself.